Redditors who make over $100,000 a year. What jobs, promotions, and steps did you take to get there? And what was getting that first big paycheck like? Not me, but my wife. I was carrying the load and getting by when we got together. She got a job as a part-time clerk for a small company, 15 employees. She was part of the support staff for the company's salesman. She is efficient and focused when she works. Does not Reddit or FB or text. She does her job while working. Anyway, after a couple of years, she saw an avenue of income that her company was not exploiting. They already had a customer base, but they were not selling a line of related items. She looked into it, did the research for what it would take to expand into that area, then went to the company president and made her presentation. For a modest investment, the salesman could let their customers know that they now offered this and that. The pres went for it and said she would head up that new department, just her, and would grow as the new program grew. It took off immediately. She was made full-time and given a substantial raise. The president retired shortly thereafter. The new guy was actually the top salesman who had thrived under my wife's idea. On day one, he said he wanted to expand even further on the program and asked what she needed. He gave her 2 assistants, a raise in base pay, and said she should also get 10% commission on all sales made on this line of products. The company has grown to 50 employees. The program has continued to grow, and she makes pretty good money. And she never went to college. Kudos to your wife for her initiative and hard work. Current business owners took nearly 7 years to crack $100,000, now doing fairly well year in and year out. My tip applies to being a business owner, but directly relates to being a manager and maybe other aspects of working. Just because you're in a position of authority doesn't mean you should sit back and give orders. To this day, I work hard as any employee I have. If others are busy, I take out the trash, vacuum, and other small tasks you might not think a manager or owner would do. Any workplace is a team. And while you are the boss, you must also show everyone around you that you work hard. And as a result, they work harder for you. It's better to be a leader and go into battle alongside your troops than be a king and sit back and shout orders. That's my grandpa's style. He's 85, owns a gas station and a 5-story building that he rents out. What does he do every day? Wakes up at the crack of dawn, heads to work, do some management stuff, then we go around and say hello to his employees, mop the floors, take out the garbage, might cover people on the cash register, etc. So down to earth. Yet his employees treat him with respect and hard work. He lives well, but not beyond his means, and definitely doesn't live a rich people life. I moved to the Bay Area and went from 40,000 to 100,000. Still poor. Yep, got my BS. Came to the Bay Area, made that almost immediately. Still getting priced out of my IBR apartment. I'll probably clear 90,000 this year, my first calendar year out of college, and I'm fairly certain one of my roommates will clear 100,000 easily. My third roommate, who lives in the living room, I'm not sure about. But the fact that I'm living in a 2-bedroom apartment without a living room is ridiculous. Money in SF, hell in the entire Bay, feels like it's on an entirely different value than everywhere else. Timeline moving down. Raised on food stamps, joined the army, got TS clearance and computer security experience, get out of the army after 4 years, get cleared contractor job 3 months later for 50,000. Work there for 8 months and jump to another contract paying 72,000. Work there for 1 month and jump to another contract paying 95,000. Work there for 2 years and get a $10,000 raise. We had a lot of debt that we're still trying to get paid off, but I get a check for about $3,000 every 2 weeks, so it's pretty sweet. I'm in your boat, well, mine is the army part. There is such a high ceiling on government contract work, but also a low floor. I worked in retail for almost 10 years, making under $30,000 a year. Having had enough, I stumbled upon a low-level government logistics job, paying just under $40,000 a year. After a year, the contract ended and I had to scramble. Through connections, I found a configuration management job with the Air Force for just under $50,000. Another year goes by and the contract is up for recompete. The company I work for becomes a subcontractor instead of the prime, and I have to renegotiate the pay. I bust my ass and get up to $60,000 a year. I have my performance review next week and I'm bringing my new college diploma and certifications, and I'm hoping for another bump. You really just have to be a bit of a bulldog to get what you deserve. A software developer here, hired fresh out of college 6 years ago at $45,000, lowballed the salary for my degree to get my foot in the door. As of this year, up to $110,000 working for the same company. I owe this massive increase to several things. Get along with your boss and your boss's boss. They ultimately are the ones who can make big raises happen, and they are much more willing to talk to the head honchos on your behalf if they like you. I've had 3 bosses now, and all of them have pushed on my behalf for 13% plus raises in the middle of the year. Not only do your job, but help teach others how to do theirs. Your boss will appreciate the team improvement. Do more than your job description. Bonus points if you happen to really like that extra stuff. In my case, I created a bunch of little tools to help automate a bunch of tasks, not just mine, but also beneficial to my co-workers. Always be accepting of change and even embrace it. The software world is changing constantly. Those who can adapt quickly will climb the ladder much faster than someone set in their ways. And a little luck. Do you think accepting that low salary was a good idea? I hear conflicting opinions on accepting low salaries, and I find it's easy to get stuck at that low pay. Also, I think a lot of people are exceptional workers but never get recognition or promotions. Do you think your relationships with your bosses were the key to getting those raises? Do you think there's something in particular about your personality that makes you promotable? Or is it just hard work and skill? I imagine that you've known people who are hardworking and skilled but who haven't had your luck. Is there anything different about their personalities? Well, I run a business. The first year was a bunch of grinding. Now I hardly work at all since the bulk of it is outsourced. What advice would you give to a person that wanted to start a business and build it to that point one day? Work your ass off from the get-go, and don't be fazed by lack of immediate results, that is profit, because there is no shortcut to success. Do not compete on prices, keep track of every transaction, and reinvest a portion of your profits to scale your business, that is outsourcing. Got a liberal arts degree from a public university at age 20. Realized that teaching history probably isn't very lucrative. Leveraged my skills on standardized testing to get into a top 5 law school. Busted my ass there for 3 years in law school, graduated in the top third of my class, and landed a job paying $160,000 a year at age 24. Big law market went a little crazy and gave everyone raises on July 1st, so now I make $180,000 a year. Honestly, it's all a bit surreal. I have a lot of student loans, so I'm putting a lot of money towards those and will have them paid off in 2.5 years. I still mostly live like a college student, so the big paycheck just feels like numbers to me. It all goes in the bank, investments, loans. I'm thinking about pursuing law, but was wondering how the workload is. Do you feel like your whole life is committed to working? I was making about $40,000 after undergrad working as an entry-level data center technician. Went to grad school and focused on project management and got a consulting job at a big firm making $60,000 after my master's. Over 4 years I got a promotion and then a couple of new jobs, currently at $120,000 and in talks for a new position at my current client. The most important requirement was good communication skills, both written and spoken, and being the kind of person that can bridge the gap between executives and project teams. If you can fill that gap without pissing anyone off, it's a huge win. And beyond that, just being the kind of person with whom people want to work. Positive, energetic, friendly, but professional. The first big paycheck felt good, but taxes take a bigger bite from each raise. Now I'm fine with that and happy to pay my share. But a jump from $60,000 to $120,000 definitely doesn't double your net income. I feel a little embarrassed about my income. It's very nice, but a lot more than my friends in non-profits or other industries that arguably add a lot more value to society. I'm interested in project management as well. I'm working towards my architecture degree and have interned several times at different places and have determined project management is where both my passion and talents lie. If I stay at an architecture firm, it could take me 10 to 15 years before I can become a project manager, which is why I'm looking into grad school or switching careers. But I don't know which is the best route exactly. Or if I should think about becoming a licensed architect first. I don't want to, but my parents are pressuring me to stay in the industry, even though project management makes me happier and pays better. Do you have any advice on what type of grad degree, MBA, etc., or training experience is good for this transition? My degree is in computer engineering. I started in IT during the peak of the dot-com bubble. After 6 years of doing this, 2 different companies, I worked my way up to a position where I covered several locations spread out over 3 or 4 cities and was considered a manager, even though I was a one-man department by then. My next move was into consulting, specifically implementing and teaching a niche software product used by big multinational companies. Sounds impressive, but basically more grunt work. At this point, I was traveling on the company dime and keeping my airline miles and hotel points. During 6 years of this, I gradually kept up on and passed the 100k mark. And then I quit. What did you start doing after you quit? I hiked the Appalachian Trail and wrote a book about it. Selling pretty well. So now I hike, I write, and work with various programs that teach people how to enjoy the wilderness without destroying it or themselves in the process. I'm a long way away from making 6 figures again, but now I spend the majority of my time doing what I love rather than waiting for it. I work in staffing and will be making 6 figures this year. It's only my 3rd year with the company. 4 years ago, I was on food stamps. The reality is simply to find something difficult that you're good at, realize that there's a future there, grind it out until an opportunity arises. Don't quit and seize it. That said, money comes quick if you're able to single-handedly generate organic revenue for a company. But what do you do? I'm confused and interested. Hey there, I work for Robert Half and manage 2 of our LOBs.